At 7:03, I'll call the meeting to order. It's a meeting of the Town of Norton Zoning Board of Appeals. We have 4 items on the agenda tonight. They should go fairly quickly, I think. The first item on the agenda, now that we have a quorum, first item on the agenda is 0 Burt Street. And Mr. Rich, I saw you when I came in.
Where do I go?
Anywhere you want. Just step up a few feet, maybe, so we can talk to you without squinting. So,
Just use the table. That way you can put your stuff there.
sure.
Mr. Wallace?
You can sit next to me if you want.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Baker, this is Mr. Baker. He's the owner of the lot with his 2 sisters. The lot in question, it's on Bird Street. There's a brief history of the lot.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Actually, some of my deeds go back to the early 60s, and I followed it through until his parents got it. His parents received it in 1983, and they, at some point in time, and I don't know why, they subdivided and they sold a lot to the right of it. I think it was in 2006, and they retained this portion right here. At some point in time, Chris's father gave it to Chris's mother. And then back in the end of 23, or the mid-23, Chris's mother, I think she was in her 90s, she's like, yeah, she conveyed it to the 3 children. Unfortunately, it's a lot it doesn't have frontage requirements. It's like 400 feet long.
Yeah.
It's a weird shaped lot, and the reasoning why it was done like that, I don't know. Everybody says they're deceased. So we, besides not having the frontage, we had to get talk to Mr. Iafrades, who said we needed the plan for the side yard, so we're going to need the side yard setback also. I think the plan that was drawn up by Rim, you should have a copy of it. And the house would be one long driveway. I think it's over a football field just to get to the front of it.
Yeah, 330 feet.
Yeah, so it's a touchdown on the field goal to get to the house. So what he intends to do is just to put a single-family home on there. If you look at the neighborhood, there are other smaller lots there. The bottom were created before zoning, a lot of them there. Bird Street, not too much before I bought my house, first back before my paper in 1960, was a dirt road. But now, obviously, it's a regular street. It's getting quite busy.
So for the record, the plan we're looking at is the one submitted since the last meeting, dated July 31, 2024.
Right, that would be for Mr. Rim Engineering, I believe.
Yes. Showing the house placed on the,
Right,
to the
yes.
rear of the lot.
Right, yeah. Oh, here it is. So, I'm sorry, I don't want to plan. Right, that's the one.
No, you did so.
Yeah, we email it. I'm sorry if you didn't see it.
Yep, nope.
So it does, the reason he'd like to put the house in the back, you see, it does flare out about 100 yards back. It flares out to give him more area. However, it still doesn't meet zoning.
Yeah.
So we need a variance for the frontage, a variance for the area, and a variance for the side yard setback. Again, you probably won't even see it from the street. I know the house, the lot to the left by Mr. Millard, they just sold a lot to the left of them, which was a tiny type over the small house, and they just built a beautiful home up there. So that's what we'd be looking to do. And again, Mr. Baker and his 2 sisters received it from the mother shortly before she passed, and why they did this at some point in time, I don't know. I can tell you why. But she did it back in...
Are they the listed owners?
It should be Linda Vollmer and Chris Baker, the latest deed, I think. Joanne Horton. Joanne Horton.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what I put on the application.
Horton. Yeah, that's the name I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's how it's indexed at the registry, doing Horton and all.
Okay. Now, Brian, you had a question right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the project. I was just curious under which section of the action, because it's not.
You need variance relief.
Right.
For side yard,
Side yard.
area, and frontage.
And frontage, that area.
And those are significant, but your question concerned,
Isn't that out of the...
Yeah, so our bylaw, just looking at this here, 175, 1.6, that's the non-conforming single and 2-family residential. That all refers, I believe, to just reconstructions, extensions, or alterations of existing structures. So this doesn't fall under that because there's no structure.
Not
that's existing on the
1.6,
property.
right.
So then you maybe go to 175, 1.5, which now refers to uses.
That's what I think this falls under.
So,
Except, well, what's your question first? then?
well, I'm just guessing that, I'm not sure which subsection it is, but
Right.
it does say that non-conforming uses may be changed, so maybe it's section E, I'm not sure. But that's just a point of, just a clerical question.
I got you, and I'm in the same space, except I'm always confused by this language, and, you know, we should clarify it sometime. The use right now is a vacant lot, so it's not non-conforming. The lot is non-conforming for one who wants to build on it,
I see.
but it's technically not non-conforming, so I don't even know if we need a finding under 1.5E, but I think it would fall under E. Building commissioners here, I would ask, do you have any guidance or insight on this?
My thoughts would be that there's no finding needed because there's no structure. So it would just be whether or not you want to grant the variances as they requested, and then,
The setback.
yeah, and then go from there. But I don't think there's a finding necessary here.
But I agree, you know, it begs of that because when we have a small lot, somebody wants to expand on it, which we have later tonight, you have to go to 175
Right.
to look at that. And I wondered that as well. And when you mentioned it just before the meeting started, I said, yeah, and it's not really a non-conforming use either. The use is going to be different,
Right.
but it's not presently non-conforming, so I don't think it technically comes under 1.5 either.
Right, because it does say it's the intent of this subsection that such change of use be permitted by the board whenever the proposed use is of the same general class as the existing non-conforming use.
But its use isn't non-conforming. Right now, it's a vacant.
Right. Right.
So I think we just put that aside and discuss it as variance relief.
Okay.
That's what I was going to suggest. But the question, I think, is a fair one and a good one.
Right.
Especially here, is it's not a non-conforming use, and that's why I just don't think it would come under that.
Well, in order to make the variance, don't we have to cite a
Variance.
bylaw?
The variance itself requires a finding of some hardship, and that it wouldn't derogate from the other purposes of the zoning bylaw, given the locale. So it's very close to this anyway,
Yeah.
but I don't think it comes under 1.5.
And I've been told by council in the past that use variance cannot be granted.
Yeah, there's a section that says there shall be no use variances.
And I know, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, it's a more basic question. Can we come in for a parcel that is vacant and undersized? I think we can, under the variance statute, if it passes, you know, our judgment under the variance conditions.
Okay.
That's my thought as to how to proceed. Certainly add your thoughts if you disagree with it.
No, I mean, it's not a non-conforming, it's not non-conforming use.
Yeah.
Lot.
And the suggestion is that if it was undersized and zoning came into play, then it's a small lot exception. Do we know what the status was? It was part of a bigger lot then, so.
Right, I don't think you qualify that. I think
It would have to be before 1974.
I disagree. He enlightened me.
So, you know, we could say, I mean, we've heard from the applicant, we could say, well, this is undersized and we don't, in our judgment, we don't have to do anything. So, no, you can't build there because it's an undersized lot. Somebody cleaved it off for some purpose that we're not familiar with. We don't know that. You could ask the applicant to dig into that and to find out more. Or we can take it as an application, you know, we've heard that the previous owner is deceased fairly
She was in her
recently.
90s when she did it.
Fairly recently, and that is passed on to children. So, you know, it's our judgment, I think, under
Okay.
variance, or to say, nope, shouldn't be able to do that. It's an undersized lot, we want to keep clear land in town. In this case, I'm not inclined to take that position because, again, it's changed hands due to life events, not due to the same owner cleaving it off and then saying, wait, I want to build on this now.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the
But
project either.
speak up, because
Yeah.
we could take the other position. It's a good question for council at some point.
There must be precedent for it too. You can't imagine this is the first undersized.
Well, we've said no before.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, I remember one in the last few years where we said no. I think it was. You're thinking of the same one. In this case, it's different in that it passed through
Right, that was an issue.
deceased, the owner being become
Well, I
deceased.
believe it was part of the larger property, and it was a different discussion.
Right,
So,
yes.
okay, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Discussion.
I agree.
I'm not opposed to it.
So,
Curiosity, so.
so I think, given the area and the other properties there, let me ask first if there's anybody else. Thank you, Attorney Bridge. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application, which we're going to take as an application for variance? I know your clients are here, or some
Yep,
clients are here.
yes.
Obviously, we've heard your position. Is there anybody else to speak in favor of or in opposition to it?
But just a question. was
Could
it
you
two
identify
separate-
yourself?
No, it wasn't two separate lots.
It wasn't two separate
No,
lots?
never mind.
I was just trying to clarify if it was two separate lots at one point.
No, you're talking about a different one, I think.
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Just curious.
Okay. Is there anybody else to speak in opposition to this? Nope. For the record, none. So our discussion is then under the variance statute, is there a hardship shown? Again, it's obviously a narrow lot. However, its size of it is 400 feet long. I think Mr. Rich was right. I added up the distances today. Where did I wrote it down somewhere?
424 feet, deep. So, that'll be back there a little bit.
The frontage is only 50, and that's really de minimis. I don't think we've ever gone below that, but it does fall, not that this is a small lot exception statute property, but using that as guidance, this does have 50 feet of frontage and more than 5,000 square feet. So it doesn't violate the tenet, the thought of the small lot exemption either, though this doesn't fall under it, legally, I don't think. So it doesn't bother me. I think the hardship is the size of a standard house. They're not trying to do anything untoward there, and the other lots in the area have been developed, or some of them, not all. I don't see a problem with this, but please ask whatever questions of the applicant you like, or whatever observations you'd like to make.
I'll just read Amy's email.
That's a different,
It is? All right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
that's funny, the gentleman in the audience, I think, was confusing them too.
Is that a different?
Different application.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's,
all right, thank God.
okay.
I was like,
Got it.
all right, we're good.
We have another one where there are separate lots, but that's.
No, this one was zero bird.
Right. This is zero.
Yeah.
Amy's is on,
No, Amy.
Amy was on a different one. I don't think Amy gave an opinion.
Oh, yeah, she did.
what?
I don't believe she did. It's not in the,
That email is about Patton Road, is it Patton?
Zero bird.
Can I just look at it?
Okay. I thought,
Oh, for Attorney Rich, I didn't,
yeah, there's an email in here from Amy.
where is that?
yeah, where is that?
No, it was in one of our emails, and I thought I remembered it.
It's not in the file. I mean, it's not in OpenGov file. Thanks. So it's an email, June 18, 2024, from Nick Iafredi to Brian and Paul.
A lot of it's about the it's
Doesn't
not,
meet the exemption.
right, very small.
Right, that was a letter a while that I received.
That's the original.
Yeah.
That was the
Right.
original before. any-
Before this plan,
Yeah,
right?
I think you would give me a copy, that was the business commission.
Let me just read through it.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Not from me.
Yeah, it's the same thing, yeah.
Huh, I did it. This thing.
I thought I remembered it, and I was reading it, and I'm like, is this the same one?
Sent to us at some point?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in,
So I remember reading it about small.
All right,
I thought it was about patent. Is it patent or fourth one?
Yes, it's kind of gets it overgrass.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's from a long time ago.
Right, that was, that,
This was before.
I had sent the building inspector a letter on the small lot exemption, and we forwarded it to her. She came back with questions that were right on point, that it wasn't a small lot exemption.
Yeah.
That was her answer. I think her answer to me, or the letter to me was, show me. And we couldn't, that's. it didn't
That's
qualify.
what you and I were just saying, it's not a small lot exemption.
And that's what.
That's what
That's
her
what this is
I
response.
just,
about.
yeah, but I wanted to make sure this was the same
This does
application.
that.
Yeah.
So
Because it's referring back to, it's all about the property that they looked up before the subdivision.
But that's why it didn't qualify for a small lot exemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is,
This is what.
this is what we were saying though, this very, this,
Yeah, but this is about, the application isn't for an appeal or for a determination of whether or not it meets that exemption. The application in front of you
is for the,
is for you to determine whether or not you're willing to grant variances on the frontage area and the side yard setbacks.
So what she's saying is, it was provided as the parcel is conforming when it was created.
Yeah, but this is in order for it to become, that would have been in order for it to fall under the exemption.
was that for, it wasn't two applications then, right?
No, no. I had initially in January, I had sent the letter.
without the house on it, without the
He
house on
referred
it.
it to town council, and she came back with something to the effect that if you're saying it's a small lot exemption, show me this, show me that, show me that, and we couldn't because we did not qualify
Right.
for small lot, and that was her response to me back then.
After building permit applications, she's saying don't give advisory opinions.
Yeah, that was separate, that was just
That
a
was-
statement to myself.
Right. See, she doesn't address what we were just saying, that, does it mean we can't give a variance for a lot?
That, at the point that that email was provided, and the correspondence back and forth, that wasn't even a discussion between myself and the applicant.
It's a small lot.
That was
Right,
solely.
She never
for the-
got to that. She
Yeah,
was-
because the applicant was solely looking for a determination on whether or not it met the small lot exemption.
You know, I could, if you want.
Oh, you were all right, I get it. You were just asking if it was, and that
He was just
uh,
looking for a determination for myself as to whether or not the lot met the
okay.
exemption.
All right,
And
that's
that
why I was
Amy's
confused,
response to
like,
that.
yeah.
At that point in time, there was no discussion of a house design, what potential setbacks we were gonna have, any of that stuff.
I got that.
And then when we got that response, that's when I spoke to Attorney Rich and said, well, if you want, why don't you come up with a house plan and then let's determine
Gotcha.
if you need variances or what, and maybe you can go that route as an option. You can, if you can achieve the relief from the board, then it's a
Gotcha.
different story. We don't have to worry about the small lot exemption
Right.
because it's irrelevant at that point.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just remembered there being a letter from her on this, and I thought
That's good for you.
I was going crazy. I'm like, well, wait, is it? How can it be the same? How can it be a different application? I'm
When
like,
did you get it then?
It was in our email
Yeah,
back
see,
in
I
June
back
18th.
out of it when, it was June 19th, it was sent to us?
June 18th and 24th.
Because I think it was,
The
it
first
was on the,
way before that.
it was on the agenda for
June
that
18th.
meeting, probably, it
Oh, I
got
see.
continued.
June 18, you got it from Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
missed that, or maybe I had it then and then just forgot about it. Now, here's, it doesn't answer the question, though, that the hypothetical I said, does this mean that we shouldn't grant variance relief? If you want to consult town council, we can ask her that specifically. In other words, does it come under the small lot exemption?
Well, she's saying no.
It's not
according to
small
that.
lot, she's calling it separate lot.
Separate lot.
exemption, Which
Yeah.
is different. That has to do with how it was owned, at the time.
But that's a different issue, isn't it?
Right.
I would say it would be.
It says the purpose of permission prevents a once valid lot from being under town building for certain purposes. That's the same thing that came from Oak, that it was part of a larger property. It was subdivided now into a piece that is too small, right? A small lot.
If it
And we
was-
said, well,
It
you know, it was part of this larger property before, you know, it was subdivided in a way that no longer met the zoning requirements.
But it wasn't done because of the imposition of zoning changes.
Right.
And after by the owner.
By choice.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's parallels there.
Well, if you feel better asking town council about it, we can continue it until the next meeting and ask her. I think she's talking about something I mean, I know she's talking about something different. Whether her thinking would ever get to, does that mean we shouldn't grant variance relief? I can't answer that.
Was there ever follow-up to this email chain?
No, because there was never discussion at that point as far as
They continued,
where the proposal's at now.
they continued the meeting, they continued the hearing. We never got to it.
The last meeting.
And then he submitted the plan with a house on
Right,
it.
with the house on it.
He was coming in first saying, we have this lot. Do we fall under the small lot exemption? I'm not
But
sure.
not the very first time, though. I already knew that we didn't. When I sent my letter to him in January,
Okay.
and I asked for that, and he came back and said, can you talk to town council? And then she responded to him, which came to me saying, okay, if you want a small lot exemption, show me A, B, C, D. And I couldn't do A, B, C, D. So it didn't qualify. So that ended my quest for small lot exemption.
Yeah.
So the other relief would be the variance. It's the variance.
Sorry to go down this rabbit hole,
It's
Well,
not.
again, I guess when we go back to the ownership and all that, I mean, if it was divided by choice of the owner at some point, subdivided into a parcel.
If you want that information, we can ask the applicant to come back and give
Yeah,
us that.
I know they did it back in 2006. Why his mother did it so late in life, I'm just guessing that she wanted to avoid probate, because she was 93. So she conveyed it, because if she had died with it in her name, then the family would have had to have gone through probate to get any type of titles on it. And I think that she was trying to avoid probate. So what she had left, she gave to her children before she died.
But was
They
it-
didn't create this, she did.
But was it it was part of a bigger lot owned by her?
It was way back when her and her husband, they subdivided it back in 2006 to one side of it, which left this, that was like in 2006. And then 2023, the husband died, and just before she died, she conveyed it to the children.
Got it.
And I don't know why, but I'm just guessing it was to avoid
Yeah.
probate.
No, that's understood, but that makes sense.
So subdivided in '06.
Yeah, right.
But there was the
It wasn't
descendants of the owner at the time who are now asking us, for this relief. So if you want clarification from council that we can vote variance relief in these circumstances, right, we can ask her to put it off till next meeting. I'm not opposed to that, because that's the question I was raising just before
Yeah.
Jim found that email, which I had forgotten about.
I think it would be helpful, and I think it, for me anyway, and I would want to make sure that we're acting consistently too, because I think the position we took with Oak, which is the only precedent that I think I was prepared to vote for, I see it being very similar.
Okay. Then I would ask for a motion to continue so that we can consult town council on whether the fact that it doesn't come under the small lot exemption means we also should not or cannot issue variance relief for that lot. Do you want to suggest that we continue this till the next meeting, which is September 18th?
Yeah.
Yeah, you make the motion.
I'll make that motion. You just talk
We
through
can still discuss it, we don't have to.
Yeah, I mean,
In a second.
if he wants a little more clarification, I don't think it'll be hard.
Are you going to second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, now discussion, you're not opposed to continuing?
No, it's only one, it's only one meeting.
February, I'm sorry, February, what? September 18th. Can you, Mr. Rich, attend either personally or?
No, I'll be here.
Okay.
Same time?
Yeah, we'll put you down first, and apologies, but it's the question that came up, and members have some questions.
It was not the small lot, that's.
Yep, understood. And that's what, I think you're right, that's what she was talking about in June, the date of that email.
I think he's right, that we should be consistent.
Okay.
You also, if I'm remembering, you also couldn't confirm who the owner was at the time.
That's fine.
I'm just wondering if that,
We can get into that after. I have to look at, I don't remember if it was Oak or something else. I think I know the one
Yeah.
Mr. Spangler's referring to, but we can look at that
Yeah, we'll look at it.
and share it with Amy and with Mr. Rich. You know, we're not trying to hide anything, obviously. I mean, we want the question answered so that members feel, positive with what's being requested, that's all. I don't think you hear, negative thoughts toward what you're asking for, aside from wanting some
It's a
clarification.
small lot, the lot is undersized.
There are various ways to attack
Right.
a
It's
problem.
useless to anybody other than
Yeah.
the deer that run through there, the turkeys, that's about it.
Yeah.
Understood. If you have any more information you want to provide, I'd invite you to.
I will look into
Or
it. I think
communicate
that-
with Amy, yourself.
If you don't mind,
Yeah, but we can ask.
oh, yeah,
I'm fine with that.
No, no,
You know how to get to me, but
We can ask that question of her as the board too, so I will do that. Then is there a motion to continue? There's a motion. I'll take a vote on the motion to continue to September 18th at 7 o'clock. Mr. Spangler?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chimere? Mr. Noel votes yes as well. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
We'll get
Thank
the
you.
answer that we need.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, all the applications for this.
it said
Open,
which is continued.
except for on.
Yeah, except for Island Brook.
Yeah, no, that much.
We don't need anything.
But we didn't have that, we should. When something comes in automatic,
My
it should
understanding was that
go
you
into there.
don't share council, but I can
But-
verify. And
Always open go,
it's open as well.
it's accessible, yeah. I got it. But I'm not sure that was, I'll have to look at it again, I'm not sure that was Attorney Meyer. But it's a question.
I think the reason that I maybe didn't get was because that was a separate, we weren't sure if it was a principal, I guess, at the end of the day, but that had already been decided between council, myself, and the applicant, and then he came in after with his application for a different
Yeah.
request, so maybe that's how we looked at it, but we can attach it if we need to.
Yeah.
Fine, understood.
I would say if there's any ever, even if it doesn't apply, we should at least have that because,
Review of it.
yeah, just take a look. Just make sure that we're not, because we're talking about small lot exemption, you know what I mean? She talked about it in her letter. I don't want to go against the council.
No, let me ask her if she has an opinion on this beyond what she wrote, which was a slightly different question. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is 78 Barrow Street. Yes, 78 Barrow Street. Mr. Philrillo?
Fiorillo, they spelled it wrong on the form
They sure
there.
did.
Close enough,
Sorry about that.
no problem.
We have a letter from Progress Contracting Corporation,
Yes.
and that is you.
Yes.
Okay. I see it now. I see the correct spelling. You spelled it right, didn't you?
I think so.
Hopefully so. So it's a narrow lot, septic system located in the back. Go right ahead, explain to
Yeah,
us.
so it's a small lot. I mean, it's a non-conforming lot. It's 75 feet wide in the front.
The sign is there, and this light is terrible.
That's all right, I can see that. It's a small house. I mean, I pulled this off of Google today, and I passed that around to see it. I mean, it's a tiny house. It's like 600 square feet, maybe a little less. They've been there for 10 or 11 years or so. Want to stay, they want to put an addition on the left-hand side there.
The bush line is not the property line. then?
It's a little bit beyond that bush.
That's what it looks like here, according to.
But the addition we're proposing is about the width of the driveway.
And that's a,
So it'd be 14 foot
like
wide.
22, right?
Yeah. So it'd still give us,
14 feet this way gives you, can't see.
yeah, it's 10.7
Terrible.
feet.
11.6 in the back and 10.7 in the
Yeah.
front.
Yeah.
So this would be variance relief and a finding because it's a non-conforming use structure there on an undersized lot now. The underside of the building is too close to the property line.
Yeah, it's even smaller, yeah.
So this is a change to an existing non-conforming.
Yeah, and I provided that picture just so you can see that it's a pretty good distance away from the next house.
Yeah.
And we
In
actually,
fact, is that the neighbor who wrote the Welsh?
okay, do you have this? Yeah.
The letter from the
Welsh.
Welshes?
Yes, that's them, yeah.
That is them on this,
Yes. Yeah,
and they have no objection.
right.
In fact, they say that
The homeowner spoke with 2 other neighbors that have no objection, but I didn't get anything in writing from
we got it. So questions from the board? Septic is around the back,
Yeah,
so there's really no
right.
other place to put this that's not going to encroach without moving or
Right.
extending the septic.
Those 25% fine.
Right.
Variance.
Right.
Because it's more than 25%, it would fall under that section of 1.6, I guess. And that's why Nick kicked it here, I assume.
Correct.
So it'd be 1.6. A.
Yeah, 1.6.
C. Yeah. Increase non-conforming nature or habitable floor area 25% or more. And that's the standards that we discussed, that it won't be substantially more detrimental to the area, neighborhood, than the present use. But it is that increase in habitable floor spaces much more than 25%. To us for that finding.
Yeah, because I think the house is about 30, it's about 600, this is about 3.
You have other questions or comments? With that? Now let me ask, is there anybody else here to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application? No? If there are no other questions, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Generali?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan? And Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Public hearing is closed. And is there any further discussion on this? I'm comfortable with what's presented.
Yeah, me too.
It's as per the plan. The front will not be, shall not be closer than 10.7, and the rear of the intended structure not closer than 11.6 feet from that side, easterly side yard setback. Is there a motion for approval under 1.6 C that this change to the non-conforming structure will not render it substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion on that aspect?
No.
Mr. Spangler, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Norring?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes for that finding. Then we need variance relief, this being an R60, so the side yard setback is supposed to be 25 feet, reduced to those 10.7 and 11.6 that we just discussed. Septic is out back, there's no other way to do this. It's a hardship.
Yep.
Is there a motion to grant variance relief with those numbers as shown on the plan?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
And that's the plan of June 17 and 24. Mr. Spangler, how do you vote on the variance relief?
Yes.
Mr. Tenore?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Okay, thanks. Good luck.
All right.
Sorry you got the name wrong.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck with
Yeah.
it. We have to write up a decision, then there's a slight appeal period, but
Yeah.
nobody has opposed it, so.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
good luck.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Okay, moving along, third item on the agenda is Island Brook, 0 East Main Street, comprehensive permit. That's been before us, Mr. Itani and Mr. Agostino, the attorney, Chris Agostino. We had been in contact, remember the last meeting, they submitted to us their final plans, but they needed to get more particulars down to submit it to Graves peer review. Brian, there's been communication with Graves, and there's peer review money in place now in the account,
Yes.
but communicating with the applicant, with the permit holder, they need just a little more time to get all their ducks in a row to submit to Graves, and Graves, today we got a letter saying Graves is probably not going to be able to meet the September 18th meeting, but we can continue it to September 18th. That was a suggestion of the letter.
Yep.
So you did see that.
Yep.
And then we can always continue
Yeah.
again to October, the October meeting at that time.
I'll be good with what's it, 180, I'm good with the days on the app, like,
They've extended it every time, and he said he would extend it again.
Okay.
We're just taking it a month at a time.
all right.
He's given us that extension in writing, so that's not a problem. And now, the issue is getting the plans in engineering detail so that Graves can review them the way Graves needs to review them, and then they'll do a report to us and maybe come before us if need be. That'll be either October or, September or October, but it's looking more like October. So is there a motion, unless you want to discuss anything else, to continue 0 East Main Street to, for now, September 18 at, say, 7:05?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Jamore, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Spangler?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so continue to 7:05. Oh, there are 2 continuances so far. All right, the last item on the agenda is 9 Patton Road. The applicant is listed as Mark Lanza. Is it Attorney Lanza?
It is Attorney Lanza.
You're representing the...
I'm representing 2 parties. One
Yep.
is Paul Freeman, who is here, and the entity known as Freeman Norton Properties LLC. Mr. Freeman, John Freeman, and Paul Freeman are 50/50 owners of that entity. So
Okay. So here, the building inspector determined that
Lots weren't buildable the way they were.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Mr. Freeman had reached out and asked me same thing. I believe it was. Okay, all right, nice to meet you. Me and Attorney Lanza have gone back and forth over email, finally met in person, so. I think it was a determination that whether or not the lots were buildable, correct me if I misspeak a little bit, but determination as to whether or not the lots were buildable the way they were, and if they met the small lot exemption status. As with the previous application, it was forwarded to town council for her review and her opinion. And after a couple emails back and forth and some information transferred back and forth, I believe in her most recent email, her most recent opinion is that the lots have now been merged or are considered merged and into one lot and have insufficient area and would need variances in order to be buildable.
I'm not sure council said they merged for a couple of reasons, but.
Okay.
But the applicant has submitted an old Norton Grove annex plot plan.
May I approach and sit right here?
Yes, of course.
Communicate better.
You can come up. So the applicant gave us this is yours, correct?
Yes.
Showing a green and blue square comprised of 4 lots. What I see though on the tax database is that 2 of the lots are currently considered 1 now. That's why I was,
Yeah, so her email dated June 9th
yep,
of this year. At the bottom of her email, one of the last sentences is, therefore, my opinion remains that the 4 lots have now merged into one, creating a lot of 17,378 square feet in area and 160 feet of frontage. And the 1 lot does not have sufficient lot area to be buildable and would need a variance. That was from an email dated June 9th of 2024.
yep, I see. Do you know why it shows as 2 different parcels in the tax database?
So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, 3
we can
parcels.
talk through this, but I believe from my recollection, these were individual parcels that were purchased at an auction. Correct. So originally, before Mr. Freeman and Freeman LLC purchased these properties,
Yep.
they were individual lots that were auctioned off by the town. And then Amy's stance on this is that once they were purchased, essentially under the same entity or by the same person, they merged into one.
By operation of law?
Common ownership.
Okay. Could I ask the applicant, why does the entity own some and the individual own the other part?
So to make it easy to follow, the entity owns I'll call it property, because it really is one property, outlined in green. That's owned by Freeman Norton Properties LLC. The property, I'm calling it a property because that's our view, and we will explain why. Outlined in blue is owned by Paul Freeman individually. The reason they are owned by 2 separate, let's just call them entities, is to avoid merger. And the town council believes that because Mr. Paul Freeman is the manager of Freeman Properties, not Properties LLC, that alone is evidence that it's really all the same person.
Common control.
Right, but after she had given that opinion, I produced a copy of the LLC operating agreement, which shows that Paul Freeman alone can't dispose of any assets, including this property, in the LLC.
Okay, do you have that
Yes.
operating agreement? I don't have that.
Okay, I'm going to give that to you. I did send it to Mr. Navarrete and
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I'll work with it. I'm fine with that.
You can forward it to us. Because that's what I was asking. Apparently, Amy, the council's assuming it's fine.
Council has seen this as well, I believe.
And in her response when she saw it was, well, it's not notarized and it's not recorded in any public place. But it doesn't have to be. LLC operating agreements don't have to be. And I have Mr. Paul Freeman and his father here to attest that they signed it on that date, July 27, 2023, which is the date the entity took title to the property outlined in green.
We're not going to study that. But the signature I see is last year. Check to see if that's what it is. Done that. So your point, Mr. Lanza, is that you want 2 buildable lots there.
We firmly believe there are 2 buildable lots, and I've yet to fully explain why.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to.
Sure.
So, as you know, the lots in this area, I'm sure you've dealt with this plan before, Norton Annex 1941, they were all created in 1940.
Yep.
All of them probably are under 5,000 square feet and 50 feet of frontage. Now, in 1946, 2 of the lots were acquired by, I'll just tell you which ones. Lots 287 and 288, together in one deed, were acquired by people by the name of Ted and Delia Delisle. They acquired those 2 together on November 27, 1946. So they didn't acquire them as separate parcels, they acquired them as one parcel.
Is that green, the green box?
Yes, it is, yep.
And they held them
Yep.
until the town took them for not paying the taxes on September 30th, 1976. So they,
After zoning.
correct. So as of the time zoning came into effect, you had one parcel of land held by 2 people. And there's no dividing line down the middle. They never attempted to build on them separately. They probably knew that under any circumstance, 4,000 square feet isn't enough. So that's how they held them for all those years, 30 years altogether. And when zoning came into effect in 1974, they were the owners of both lots together. A little over 8,000 square feet, a little over 80 feet of frontage.
80 and how many square feet?
A little over 8,000.
8,800, I think he's probably getting his numbers. It's 80, both of the lots are 80 square feet of, 80 square, say,
So
square,
that
80
would
feet of frontage.
that would have triggered the merger at the institution of zoning, because there was then one common lot held at the institution of zoning of more than 5,000, more than 50 feet of frontage.
So what we're saying is, they were really one before zoning, and if there was any doubt about it, they were one as of zoning. By one, I mean the 2 of them,
Yes.
287 and that. Now, our view is because they're vacant, because they're being used, or to be used for single-family residential, and they were not owned in common with anybody, any abutting lots. Okay?
Yeah.
They are a so-called isolated lot under Chapter 48, Section 6, Paragraph 4, Sentence 1, which says, essentially, it's a state grandfathering law. It says lots that are not owned in common with other abutting lots that have at least 5,000 square feet of area, at least 50 feet of frontage, are used for single or two-family, are grandfathered, and they're vacant, of course, are grandfathered until such time as a building permit is applied for. And that was the status as of the time zoning became enacted. The other 2 lots have a similar history. They were acquired, this is 289 and 290, by a woman by the name of Amanda Carter. One was acquired in 1966, the other in 1970. She too held them together as a single lot, roughly 8,000 square feet and 80 feet of frontage on Patton Road. And again, she didn't own any abutting property, nor did the Delisles. So now you have, as of zoning, it means she really has no choice. They were held as one before zoning, and then as of zoning, they are absolutely one.
They
Again,
merged.
Yeah, merged. They were merged before as a matter of practice, and I don't know if you know, but in your definition of lot in the zoning bylaws, it says an owner can treat 2 abutting lots, even though they're separate lots on a...
Oh, 633, you mean?
No, that's different.
Oh, okay.
That's different. In the definition of lot, it says the owners can treat abutting lots at their option as a single lot, and that's what these people did.
Okay.
So as of zoning in 1974, you have 2 lots owned by 2 separate parties, each 8,000 square feet, give or take, plus 80 feet of frontage. And again, both meet the small lot exemption under state law. So
What happened to the blue combined lots then? Were those taken?
they too were taken later by the town, yes.
When, do you know?
Yes. One was taken in 76, the other was taken in 86.
And the blue in 86?
one of the, part of it was taken in 76, part of it was taken in 86. Part in
The
76.
same owner? And you
Yes.
do them together?
Who knows what? Who knows what the town did there? Now, a question that might enter your mind is, so now the town owns all of them, okay? So why don't they merge when the town owns all of them? Well, town council and I agree on this. When a treasurer collector holds property for the town, for not paying the taxes, he doesn't have the authority to merge them, so they stay separate. So along comes Paul Freeman and his LLC, and he buys them at auction last summer, after we had done this research and come to this conclusion. And he goes to Mr. Efrate and says, just please confirm that they're buildable. And by buildable, I mean dimensional. I don't mean you can use them for anything. I don't mean it could be, who knows, wetlands issues, environmental issues. There could be other things that we just don't know about. He reasonably, seeing that there's a lot of legal issues here, refers it to town council, whom I know well. She knows me well. We don't always agree. Lawyers don't always agree on complicated legal issues. So what we'd like you to do is review all this and find that they are 287 and 288 separately, and 289 and 290 separately are entitled to the small lot exemption under state law and are buildable for dimensional purposes. And we realize that we're asking you to do something you don't usually do. We're asking you to disagree with Mr. Efrate, who, and also to some extent the town council.
Well, we have no problem with doing that.
It's not me here, just trust me.
It's funny you say that. I have clients, I just have to, they'll say, well, I know it's this way. I said, no, it's not that way. And the way I said, well, you don't have to take my advice, but you do have to pay for it.
But the small lot statute, 175(6.3, talks about vacant lots that will be 50 feet of frontage, 5,000 square feet area.
He said more.
But the four individual lots at first, none of those meet that small lot standard.
And we're not saying they do.
No, I'm just trying to clarify the record and discuss it out.
Right. We're saying that they merged before zoning even came into effect, into two 8,000 or so square foot lots. And then when zoning came into effect, there's no question that the moment the zoning bylaws were adopted, that's what they were. And that's the point in time. That's the point in time that you have to look at. It's a snapshot.
So I don't think, if I may too, I don't think there was ever a discrepancy that, as to whether or not he had 2 lots or 4 lots here. I think from the beginning, we were on the same page that there's 2 individual lots. One held
Yeah.
in the 2 entities. The stance that town council took that I supported was that once Mr. Freeman took ownership, whether it was him personally or through the LLC, they then became 1 lot, the same way that the 4 lots became 2 lots, if you can follow that.
Yeah, I can.
Right? So that's, I think, where my stance through town councils came through the determination, and I think that's why we...
Yeah, that's what
got us
we had
here.
just addressed with the operating agreement with the LLC, that's,
Yeah, and I understand what Mr. Lanza is saying. An LLC is a corporate entity. It has powers, but who are the members of the LLC?
Mr. Freeman, Paul Freeman, and his father's name is John.
Right.
John Freeman. They're 50-50, and neither one can convey property or do anything to it unless both agree.
So it's not, Mr. Lanza's urging us to agree, it's not common ownership because one guy owns the blue and the green lots, just let me be which is which.
Yeah.
And then a company involving one guy and his father owns the other lot. And under LLC law, the LLC can't just do what the one guy wants to do. It has to be both.
He owns it.
You have to be
I own
both
the one I own,
members
and
that agree with it. Now, I haven't read the LLC agreement. I didn't see that either until you handed it. Thank you. I'm going to ask that if we give them to Brian, is it here?
I put it right down here.
Can we copy that into the file? And I can do it in my office too, but I think we're going to need to look at that. I'm sorry to say that, we're going to have to come back to this next month as well. But I now understand, I didn't understand if Attica was asking for 2 buildable lots or 1 buildable lot. I just didn't understand what they were asking for. It makes sense that they want 2. The ability to put up 2 houses is probably more economically attractive than putting up 1 house. I think we're going to have to look at this and probably talk to town council, if not ask you to propose next month. In the meantime,
When is your next meeting?
September 18.
I can do it.
Yeah. We just continued on the 2 others to September 18th, so we're going to have 5 other meetings coming up, but it
Excuse
happens.
us over here in the peanut
Can
gallery.
we ask questions yet?
Hold on, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
We're not done yet. Mr. Lonzo, let me ask you, as the applicant's counsel presenting here, is there anything else we should know now that you wish to add?
Let me just take a look at my notes here.
Yeah, and thank you for the LLC agreement. I do want to have that in the record and be able to look at these.
I'm just looking at my notes here.
So that was kind of my thought, but I didn't know.
There's no question on the lot dimensions.
And then,
Because what is this map, Geo? Is that-
yeah,
That's where I go now. Is that where we're supposed to go for
you
dimension?
can, the dimensions are the dimensions, right? But
And this has these 2 lots still separate lots, but it has the green, I think it's the green lot
The green lot together.
together. So I don't know
I know what you
why.
mean, it's the assessor's map. Just the way it was built, who knows?
Well, no, it's supposed to be up to date, and if it's
Yeah,
common ownership, it's common ownership. That's why I didn't understand why
There's,
this is still separate, but this one is.
all assessors maps have a little qualifier that says not to be used for conveyancing purposes.
You're right, you're right.
yeah.
I mean, it's good information, but
It's not good, it's not precise.
That's why I was confused. I wasn't even sure which 2 lots we were talking about tonight. So you clarified that, and thank you.
If you're looking for a survey, though, I think you need to determine whatever survey you want. Do you want a survey that shows 2 lots? Do you want a survey that shows 1 lot?
It's just hard to
I don't, that's why we didn't even go down that road with this.
I don't
because
think we need a survey though, because
I didn't either.
the dimensions are all here on the, if I can call it the tax card or the assessor's card.
So
You can have copies of
just trying to
these.
determine whether it's buildable or not
Yeah.
to uphold your decision. Is that what we're doing here?
Overturn it.
They're asking us to overturn the decision.
So we don't need to know anything
Respectfully.
about.
I understand, of course.
very respectful.
But the dimensions of the lots are all on this, and you can obviously look it over, tell us if it's wrong, but,
There's no dispute about the
yeah,
dimensions.
yeah. So I don't think we need a plot plan.
Yeah, I had a stake, I haven't got my plot plan back, I'm sorry, Ben. I had a stake, I haven't got my plot plan back.
I mean, the only reason I ask is like this.
Engineer.
We can ask for that as to where would you put the houses as part of our, if we get there.
I would give that to him when I.
Yeah, but the first question that's before us, and we usually say we need a plot plan showing where the house is. But this is
there yet.
This is there because the building commissioner, with town council's help, has said,
Well, I would just say,
You disagree.
Tom, you were referring to this 6.3,
Yeah.
which, says, has things in here like a vacant lot, having at least 50 feet frontage. Right, and how do we, this is just
but
the sketch. that
You-
says 40
I'm telling you, it's
Right.
here. It says 40 feet frontage, I think, for each of the 4 lots. 40 feet frontage and 4,000 and something square feet each. They're on the town records. I don't need to ask them to spend money.
That's through the assessors.
Yeah.
The odd measurements because the back lines on
Assessors
the angle.
records were not reliable for our purposes.
So that's what Mr. Longes is pointing out. I could should let me walk over.
I mean.
You're welcome to look on, but I think
It's
you.
okay.
Like how.
It's these 2 lots and this This is actually 2 lots.
Yeah, I mean, this is our
Right.
line zoning that so I
got it.
You should
can
have
see what they are.
it.
Just saying, like,
References.
But you can see.
You should be able to find
Click
it
on,
somewhere
click
that
on
references the
that,
front
or
of
one of the lots, and it'll show up on the side, the accessory.
This is not your plan?
Actually,
Right, that's
we
not-
don't state the front,
that's not
just
mine.
a reflection.
Yeah, which is 40 feet, so it's a bit.
It doesn't,
Yeah,
We get
say-
the accessory's card.
This is a recorded plan.
Accessory's card, and see the dimensions. And it's
He
right
has
here.
said you do understand.
This document too, Tom,
I can tell you that's
not to interrupt, this document too is recorded. This is recorded at the registry, which gives you the
That's old
areas.
roads there.
Yeah, down back in 41, but
We don't have to rely on
Lots
that.
have changed,
You know,
yeah.
we could say, well, we want a newer record. I'm just saying, you have to go by some town record, and if we can verify, we get the assessor's cards that'll have the dimensions of each of these lots.
All right, I think it's, yeah.
This one, it shows as 1 lot.
Council.
These 2 still shows 2 lots, even though it's Mr. that owns each of those lots. So I don't know why that is, but we can figure that out. So the dimensions of the lots are of record. We don't need to say, give us another engineered plan. And I assume you agree.
yeah, that's why I didn't ask for it.
They're of record.
Yeah.
Whether we have that tonight, and then we can get the tax cards for.
Yeah, and we'll get to that point. And that's a topic too, Brian, if at the next meeting council attends, you can obviously ask that question of her if you wanted to, and say, you know, is this sufficient enough, or do we need more than?
I don't know,
this?
I just don't see anything that has ever been surveyed to say it's actually 40 feet or 50 feet, whatever it is. I don't know, where's the assessment?
Once they build on
there.
it though, once they build on that, you're gonna have to have an engineer plot.
Before that gets
And
back
then show it.
Can I see something just to ease your thought? I did have him state the lots. He's not on paper, but he stated. So,
I'm gonna go with the
Give us-
force majeure here and.
Okay, if you want to give us those in the meantime, give us those.
honestly, my engineer's been so busy. I asked 3 months ago, and I asked for a couple of things I had from him. He's honestly been so busy.
But I don't think there's any
I would be
dispute.
comfortable
Yes, go ahead.
with using those numbers, because I know once he tries to build, he's gonna have to show it in his plan.
Plus, he bought these from the town, right, at a tax sale, so the dimensions are set somewhere. They're in the deed,
They're right here.
and they're on the tax card too, which we can pull, so it's not in dispute.
Be comfortable with
We can agree on it. No, we can agree on the dimensions. The questions are more complicated. So let me just stop at this point. Now, are there other people who wish to be heard? Is this in favor of the application?
No.
No.
Opposed to, thank you. You have to identify yourself,
it one at a time.
where you live, one at a time, please, and then you're invited to give your point of view.
I'm Judy Constantino. I'm on 5 Mayflower Road.
Where?
Excuse me, 5 Mayflower Road.
5 Mayflower.
Okay, the next road over.
Yep.
It is my understanding that when you are combining lots, I understand that 2 were held prior to 74 by one person, 2 were held prior to 74 by another person. But from legal stuff that we've had to go through with the town, if you're combining lots, you need to get as close to the R60, I believe we're in. You have to get as close to that R60 as possible. So if he's owning all of these properties, there should only be one house on all that property.
Okay.
And also, it is going to be more of a detriment to our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is small, it's already congested, people speed up and down the roads, adding more people, adding 2 more houses. Back when we had issues back in 2001, I have a letter from the town's attorney from then. They didn't want any more building done then, and it's happening again. So
Well-
that's why we're not in favor, the 4 of
Understood.
us.
Thank you, thank you. Is there somebody else who wishes to express an opinion or ask a question? Please
We live
identify.
on the corner of Patton Road, Fort Patton Road.
But-
We're just.
We're neighbors with them.
Mrs. Constantino speaking for you.
What they're saying.
Mark.
Fine.
I'm trying to speak.
That's fine. If you want to speak separately, you can just give us your name and address. Otherwise, we're not making a decision tonight, you understand?
Yeah.
Because we have some questions and some things we need to clear up, different things. And we're going to vote in a minute to continue this to September 18th so we can answer those. I know exactly what you're saying, and that's our ultimate is is this one lot or is it two lots? Two lots, one can have a house on each lot, on each of the two. If it's one big lot, they would ask for one house on that lot, and may need variances for that as well, I'm not sure. We
And also-
haven't gotten there yet.
And if you can consider the detriment to the neighborhood, I appreciate that as well.
No, of course, that's under 1.5, 175, 1.5, and 1.6, we do that, exactly.
Okay.
We're not doing that tonight because we're
Yeah, no,
not
I
making
get
a
it.
decision, we'll discuss that as we go forward. We just have to get some basics first, and I appreciate Mr. Lanza explaining, where this came from. We're going to look at the LLC agreement, put that in the file, and I'm going to talk to email with Amy to see if we can get some clarification as well. But I at least understand where the parties are coming from, and I understand the neighbors who showed up and their concern as well. So is there more to do tonight, or should we vote to continue this to September 18th, say 7:15?
Right.
Yeah, comfortable continuing to find the
Mr. Lanza, was there anything else tonight?
No, nothing else to
Then is there such a motion? Well, we're not closing the
Yeah,
public
you're not
hearing at all,
closing.
we're just continuing. We'll continue this. We'll give the neighbors, the abutters, again, another chance next time, when we get some more information and talk about that. You'll have every opportunity to speak again.
Also, 7 o'clock on the 18th?
Well, we're going to start, this is now the
Starting
third
at
item, so it's
yeah.
going to be
7:15.
7:15, maybe 7:30,
But the meeting itself will be at
Starts at 8. yes.
so we'll put it down for 7:15, since we have a couple of other things
on
already.
the 18th, okay.
Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Genoy?
Yes.
Mr. Spangler?
Yes.
Mr. Noel votes yes as well. We'll be in touch in the meantime, though. If you have other plots to give us, go right ahead, send them to Brian, and we'll distribute them, just to clarify in our minds, but I think we'll have what we
I appreciate you hearing us. We fully appreciate what this is about.
Thank you.
Thank you.